Today's video is brought to you by the Brandywine Festival UK, the incredible Middle-earth live-action roleplay event that made its debut in the US last year makes its way to Tolkien's home country this September. With the big news of the new Stephen Colbert-driven Middle-earth film, Shadow of the Past, I thought it would be a great time to look at one of the lesser-known characters mentioned in that synopsis, Elanor Gardner, the daughter of Samwise Gamgee. The first we hear of Sam's daughter is on the day of her birth, March 25th, 3021, 2 years to the day after the One Ring is destroyed. After Rosie gives birth, Sam reveals to Frodo that they had resolved to call their newborn child Frodo, but as they've been blessed with a baby girl instead of a boy, they are at a loss for what to name her. To this, Frodo responds, "Well, Sam, what's wrong with the old customs? Choose a flower name like Rose. Half the maid children in the Shire are called by such names, and what could be better?" "I suppose you're right, Mr. Frodo," said Sam. "I've heard some beautiful names on my travels, but I suppose they're a bit too grand for daily wear and tear, as you might say. The gaffer, he says, make it short, and then you won't have to cut it short before you can use it. But if it's to be a flower name, then I don't trouble about the length. It must be a beautiful flower, because you see, I think she's very beautiful, and is going to be beautifuler still." Frodo then recalls the small golden flower that grew in the grasses of Lothlorien, a star-shaped flower known as Eleanor. Sam is delighted at the suggestion, and thus the first child of Samwise and Rosie is named for the golden flowers of Lorien. But Lorien was not the only place to see this beautiful and abundant plant. In Unfinished Tales, we are told that the elves of Tol Eressëa would bring the Eleanor, among many other things, to the realm of Numenor in the Second Age, a star-shaped flower for the star-shaped island. Furthermore, in the tale of Aldarion and Erendis, among Tolkien's most famous and bittersweet tales, we find that the Eleanor is among the flowers used to decorate the Numenorian ships during the wedding of the title characters. Tolkien would compare the Eleanor to the real-world pimpernel flower, though perhaps the Eleanor would be an enlarged version of it. He goes on to say that the Eleanor would have both sun-golden flowers and star-silver ones on the same plant, and sometimes the two would combine. And perhaps this would serve as a reference or a small echo of the two trees of Valinor. The little Eleanor named for this beautiful plant was likewise a beautiful hobbit maiden, known as Elanor Gardner. For the surname of Sam's children would be Gardner, in honor of his replanting of the Shire after the Scouring. And when Eleanor is just 6 months old, Frodo would leave Sam and Rosie Bag End, his possessions, and a large book with a red leather cover. And with Frodo's departure into the West, Sam and his descendants become the keepers of the Red Book, the accounts of Bilbo and Frodo Baggins. 15 years later, in an epilogue Tolkien once wrote for The Lord of the Rings, we see a conversation between Sam and his children, including Eleanor and his sons named after his great friends. And one evening in March, Master Samwise Gamgee was taking his ease by a fire in his study, and the children were all gathered about him, as was not at all unusual, though it was always supposed to be a special treat. He had been reading aloud, as was usual, from a big red book on a stand, and on a stool beside him sat Eleanor, and she was a beautiful child more fair-skinned than most hobbit maids and more slender, and she was now running up into her teens. And there was Frodo lad on the heath rug, in spite of his name as good a copy of Sam as you could wish, and Rose, Merry, and Pippin were sitting in chairs much too big for them. Goldilocks had gone to bed, for in this Frodo's foretelling had made a slight error, and she came after Pippin, and was still only 5, and the Red Book rather too much for her yet. But she was not the last of the line, for Sam and Rose seemed likely to rival old Gerontius Took in the number of their children, as successfully as Bilbo had passed his age. There was little Ham, and there was Daisy in her cradle. We then get a heartwarming conversation among Sam and his young children, as Eleanor asks about her namesake. "Well, dear," said Sam, "it grew there once, because I saw it with my own eyes." "Does it grow there still, Daddy?" "I don't see why it shouldn't, Ellie. I've never been on my travels again, as you know. Haven't all you young folk to mind. Regular ragtag and bobtail, old Saruman would have called it. But Mr. Merry and Mr. Pippin, they've been south more than once, for they sort of belong there too now." "And haven't they grown big?" said Mary. "I wish I could grow big like Mr. Meriadoc of Buckland. He's the biggest hobbit there ever was, bigger than Bandabras." "Not bigger than Mr. Peregrine of Tuckborough," said Pippin. "And he's got hair that's almost golden. Is he Prince Peregrine away down in the Stone City, Dad?" "Well, he's never said so," said Sam. "But he's highly thought of, that I know. But now where were we getting to?" "Nowhere," said Frodo lad. "I want to hear about the spider again. I like the parts best where you come in, Dad." Eleanor and Sam go on to discuss the Eleanor flower, Lorien, and the elves. She conveys her desire to go see the flower for herself in Lorien. The children go on to ask many great questions that readers themselves would have had. What happened to Celeborn, Gimli, and Legolas after the War of the Ring? And did the Ents ever find the Entwives? With Eleanor saying she looks for Entwives anytime she goes into a wood. Sam then goes on to read a letter he has received from a great friend and king. "It is written in Elvish and in plain language," said Sam, "and it says, Elisar Aragorn, Arathorn's son, the Elfstone, King of Gondor and Lord of the Westlands, will approach the bridge of Baranduin on the first day of spring, or in the Shire reckoning, the 25th day of March next, and desires there to greet all his friends. In especial, he desires to see Master Samwise, Mayor of the Shire, and Rose, his wife, and Eleanor, Rose, Goldilocks, and Daisy, his daughters, and Frodo, Merry, and Pippin, and Hamfast, his sons. There you are. There are all your names." And when little Pippin asks when March 25th is, Eleanor chimes in that it's in exactly 1 week, as any child would know of their upcoming birthday. As with so many of Tolkien's writings, there are multiple versions of this epilogue, including one where Sam lovingly calls Eleanor Eleanorelle. And indeed, 1 week from their conversation, Eleanor and her family would meet King Elisar and Queen Arwen at the Brandywine Bridge. Sam, who has by now been mayor of the Shire for 9 years, is honored by the king, being given the Star of the Dunedain, and Eleanor is made a maid of honor to Queen Arwen. While we don't know fully what the role of maid of honor entailed, we know this would not be the last time Eleanor would meet the Gondorian royalty. 6 years after their meeting at the Brandywine, Eleanor would accompany both Sam and Rosie as they make their way down the Greenway to Gondor, where they would stay for 1 year. Eleanor would then find love back in the Shire, for in the 30th year of the Fourth Age, and in her own 30th year of life, Eleanor would marry Fastred of Greenholm. 3 years later, they would welcome a son, who they name Elfstan. His name means Elfstone, meaning he was probably named after King Elisar himself. The following year, Fastred would be named Warden of the Westmarch by Thane Peregrine Took, at the request of Sam. The Westmarch is the new area given to the hobbits by King Aragorn, and it is no coincidence that the Red Book's very name would include this location. For in the 61st year of the Fourth Age, Sam would travel west to the Tower Hills, Now within the Shire realm of the Westmarch, the Tower Hills lie above the Under Towers, home to the family of Eleanor and Fastred. Here, in the aftermath of Rosie's death, the 102-year-old Samwise Gamgee would bid farewell to his daughter before he sails west. He gives Eleanor the Red Book, which would come to be known as the Red Book of Westmarch. And Eleanor's family would go on to play a pivotal role, not only in the keeping of the Red Book, but other documents as well. We are told that the Under Towers would become one of 3 places in the Shire with the largest libraries to be found. It would not only be Eleanor's son, Elfstan, but also their daughter, Firiel, who would carry on their family traditions. We do not know when Firiel was born, but we know she shares a name with the Gondorian princess, who would wed one of the last kings of the once great realm of Arnor. And we know that both Elfstan and Firiel would take the family name of Fairbairn, in honor of the elf-like beauty of their mother that would long be inherited by her descendants. For years to come, Eleanor and her descendants would keep their libraries, and most notably, the Red Book. We are told the Fairbairns of Westmarch would make editions and copies of this incredible text, adding things like commentaries, genealogical trees, and various other matter concerning the Hobbit members of the Fellowship. And just 2 years after Sam's departure, we are told that Pippin would deliver a copy to Minas Tirith, for King Aragorn had requested it, and it's possible this copy was made by Eleanor herself. In Gondor, it is said they would add things to the Red Book, like the tale of Aragorn and Arwen, written by Barahir, the grandson of Faramir. In return, Pippin's great-grandson would request a copy of that amended book, and in 172 of the Fourth Age, long after Eleanor's life would have ended, a new copy would come to the Great Smiles. While not kept with the Fairbairns, it is this copy from which we get our text of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. We cannot say for certain when Eleanor's life came to an end, though we certainly know of her legacy. Her son Elfstan would succeed his father as Warden of the Westmarch, and the Fairbairns would continue the tradition of their matriarch, keeping the great libraries and the Red Book in the Under Towers, giving us the history of hobbits and the greatest tales of the Third Age. Like the Fairbairns, we live in the ages following the heroic tales of Middle-earth, but thankfully we can live our little slice of Tolkien's world within our own. And I got that experience firsthand at last year's Brandywine Festival, a fully immersive, multi-day event set within the Shire. I had an absolute blast playing a dwarven NPC and just having an incredible time with others who adore this world. And this year, it's not only happening in the US, but coming to Tolkien's own home of the UK. It's an amazingly fun time full of games, music, food, camping, and just having great times with fellow Middle-earth fans. Tickets are on sale now and in limited number, so check it out now at thebrandywinefestival.com. As always, I want to say a huge thank you to all my Patreon and YouTube supporters who make this channel possible. CCDC Red Team, Evil Chameleon, Tom DeBombadil 19, Lissamy the Cinda, Rabbi Rob Thomas, Charles Leisure, Joe Tepper, The Mighty Mim, Andrew Carlisle, Swirled Traveler, Matthew Jeffrey, Viking Lord, Alvin Einbert, Jeremy Daniel Derby, Madame Director, Freya Firestar, Chris and Meg Q, Leo Vittori, Sky Carcass, Slide Belts, Dane Ragnarsson, Berto Berg, Graham Derricott, The Dark-Haired One, Wyland, Kiara Berlin, Z and N, Evely, Kia, Landry Quinn Walker, Ice Glazer, Micah Wu, and Debbie. If you enjoyed the artwork in this video, check out the artists in the description to purchase prints of their great work for yourself. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on Nerd of the Rings.